Hi and welcome to the Body Art Show. I'm Julie Taddam from the Global College of Body Art. Each week on the show we're going to look at the hottest tips, techniques and industry news in the exciting world of body painting. For more information on anything we discuss on the show, you can visit our website for the Global College of Body Art at www.gcba.com.au. The URL for that will be down below on your screen. Now let's get on with the first episode. On this week's show, we'll be looking at an issue that body painters face daily and one that I get asked about by models and clients all the time, and that is the issue of body coverage. So how to optimise the artwork, allowing it to look its best, but at the same time stay within the restrictions of the venue or the client or the media as to how much body is allowed to be exposed. Firstly, I should say that I don't have a personal bias against the human body, and I do think that we should be able to express ourselves the way that we want to. But there's a number of reasons why I need to stick within the rules of body exposure, and that is mainly because of my clients. So my clients are looking to have their work put into the media or on an advertising campaign which will go out to a very broad family friendly audience. So they come to me with strict rules as to what I am and am not allowed to show in my art. On the other hand, also, I just never know where my artwork will end up, and I must admit that media coverage is good for me and it's good for the client. So I always think about my artwork as if it's going to go into the paper, and there are rules and regulations in the media. That's just the world we live in. So if I can prepare the artwork so that it is ready to go into the media if the opportunity arises, it's good for me and it's good for my client. Also, several venues have restrictions as to what amount of body coverage they will allow. For example, the Sydney Exhibition Centre has very strict underwear requirements. So when you go to work at a trade show or an exhibition of some kind at the centre, you're given a 5-page document on where the underwear needs to come to and how much of the breast is allowed to be exposed, etc. So it's very important to stick with those rules, because I have been in a situation on a live painting event where I was painting alongside other body artists, and the other body artist model was not allowed to leave backstage. My model was the only one allowed to go out and perform that night because we had adhered to the rules of the body exposure regulations of the venue, and the others were that far off, but they still weren't allowed to go out. So it's very important. If you can imagine trying to explain to your client, I'm sorry, but your model's not allowed out because I didn't read the rules. So it's really important to have all of the knowledge about the amount of body coverage you must have for that venue. And it really is sort of your responsibility, not the client, because it's seen as your area of expertise. Thirdly, our industry has suffered in the past from a certain degree of over-sexualisation. So the type of body painting where a woman is sprawled across the bonnet of a car and ends up in the, the calendar sort of style shoot. That's not doing any of us any favours with regard to trying to get a corporate market, which is where the best business is. So there's the Vodafones and the 20th Century Foxes of this world are not going to hire us for advertising campaigns if our type of artwork is seen as overly sexual and not appropriate to their demographic family-friendly market. So it's really important to me to be able to offer body coverage options which suit the demographic that they're targeting in their campaigns, and that includes painting over bras if necessary, and being able to consult with them as to all of the options they have, so as they don't offend or turn off the target market that they're actually trying to go for in their campaign. And last but not least, the comfort of the model is another big reason to have body coverage options. It's amazing to me how just a 2-centimetre circle of nipple tape can just lower that vulnerability and raise it up that confidence of the model. And we've got to spend 6 hours together, the model and I really want her or him to trust me. And selfishly, the better the model feels, the better the model looks. So your artwork is going to look better on a model that's feeling comfortable in their own skin. So if you can give them some options to cover the nipples or make sure that the crutch is not extremely obvious in the final artwork, then that's better for everyone. So we've looked in depth as to why we should use some body coverage techniques, but now we should look at how. So the two main areas we want to look at is how we cover the top half of the body, the options we have for breast coverage, and how we cover the crutch area. So underwear and various other crutch covering techniques. So let's have a look at those now. So let's look at the different types of underwear that we can use for body painting. And for that we're going to look at our mannequin here. Now it's important that the underwear we choose has certain elements that it must tick the box every time. That is the fact that it is seam free, that it is synthetic fabric, not cotton, that is the correct size so that it doesn't cut into the model, and it's the correct shape for the venue restrictions and for the type of artwork that we are going to be trying to display on that area. So I'll go through each of those in detail now. The most important thing with body painting underwear, I think, is for it to be seam free. So by that I mean this seam along the edge shouldn't have any ridges or stitching. So for example, if you see where the fabric and my skin touch, there should be very little ridge. And that just helps you to sell the concept of the artwork as a whole without drawing attention to the fact that there's underwear there, as opposed to, for example, these underwear which have a ridge or a seam on the side. It's it's very obvious once it's painted, that seam, and it sort of ruins the illusion that you're trying to create with your body art. Now they come in different shapes as well. So there's the thong, such as we just saw. That's the most useful, I think, for body painting, because painting over fabric is much harder than painting over skin. So the least fabric you can have, the better, and the more skin painting, the better. So this won't be appropriate for all venues. For example, the Sydney Exhibition Centre, they don't allow thongs. So in those situations you have to have a stash in your studio of briefs as well, so that they'll have like a larger buttock coverage, sort of the same coverage at the front. They're not as good to paint on, but you are going to need those in certain circumstances. And then the last sort, which I use a lot of, are these boy leg briefs. These are really good for men, because I don't find that the G-strings give enough support in the crutch for male models. So I either get them to wear a G-string underneath and then this over the top, or sometimes just these with some crutch protection, which we'll go through later as well. They're also really good for models, female models, who are going to have to get into some tricky positions like a ballet position or a contortionist position or something, things that she's not going to be comfortable doing in a thong or a G-string. So these boy leg shorts are also very, very good, very useful. They come in all sorts of colours. There's blue and pink, but the most common one that I use all the time is the nude colour, which is this colour here. Unfortunately, nude is like this fair skin tone, so if I'm using a model with a darker skin tone, I guess it's a bit racist, but this is what they call skin tone or nude coloured. So I do have to adjust my paint colour when I'm using a darker skinned model to compensate that. But the idea of the nude underwear is that the paint should look the same on the underwear as it does on the skin, because you don't want to see where one becomes the other. So as I said, a dark skin model, you're going to have to potentially darken up your paint on this fabric so it matches the nice dark background that the paint's having on the skin. You can also get black. All of this seam-free underwear comes in black, which is really handy for things that are all over black, or for UV body painting as well. So next we're going to have a look at what you can do to the underwear to keep it from moving around. From judging several body art competitions, there's nothing worse than when the underwear is slipping around and the illusion of this body painting behind it is lost. So if you've got definite lines that need to line up over the underwear and coming from the skin, it's really important that the underwear doesn't move. Even when the model is moving around, dancing on stage or during the performance, if this moves up slightly, it's unbelievable how much the illusion is lost. So it's really important to stick down the sides of the underwear. I can't believe how many times I see it not being done, and it's so easy and so critical. So all you do is you take some Pros-Aid or some body glue, and you just take a little bit of it. I roll up the side of the underwear and I lay it along the skin. wait till it sort of dries a little bit clear so it's at its tackiest, and then lay the skin down on the fabric down on it so it adheres the underwear to the skin. It's so important. People say to me then, but how do they go to the toilet? So what I do is I don't adhere just around this section. Then they can pull that aside to go to the bathroom. Or with male models, I might choose to also not adhere this section here at the front. But there's some other options other than just underwear that we can look at that are also adhered to the body. So I'll go and grab some of those and I'll show those to you as well. So the other options are things which are more like prosthetics, which can be worn on the crutch area. So they can be made of various things. We've got some here. These are an adhesive panel, which really is a little like a fabric first aid tape or elastoplast, and they adhere at the top at the crutch area, and this goes up and through and sticks through at the back of the buttocks. That's one option. Being fabric, I don't like the look of them necessarily. They're good for potentially, you know, a photo shoot or something where they do gape a little bit at the side. So if you're very confident of the angle the model will be on, they could be okay. But for moving around an event or, you know, on film, I wouldn't recommend those. There's another option is these, which are called Pro Shields, and unfortunately, I don't have any of the other at the moment because I've just used my last ones last week. They are foam latex in this same shape, or there's these ones which are pure latex in this shape, but they do the same thing. So they adhere on the crutch area. This little string goes up and through and adheres at the back. And then they all get sort of sealed down. You can Bondo these if you wanted to have a completely seam-free look. And then you just seal those and you can paint over them. That is an option. There's also what's called a C string, which I don't have one of. It's like a G string without the side, so it's just this section here, and it's on a metal curve, so it clips up and over. It's not particularly comfortable. I've tried one out, not particularly comfortable, and I found it gaped on the sides. From the side you could see straight through, and it did not feel like it was going to stay put, so it wouldn't be suitable for an event. I think the most appropriate one, other than underwear, is the adhesive foam latex G-string. I have used those before. I've been a body paint model in a competition before, and I had to do all sorts of acrobatic style dancing, and I felt very secure that it wasn't going to move. It was easy to use the bathroom. They just didn't adhere the very bottom part until right before I went on stage, and you know, I would have no problem recommending that to a model. So that was a good option too. So let's now have a look at what would be more appropriate to suggest to a male if they're feeling uncomfortable about the sheerness of these underwear. I work a lot with male models and male athletes, so I have to be very conscious that this underwear that we use is very revealing. It can give away a lot in terms of topography and lumps and bumps, and understandably the male models can get quite uncomfortable about that. So I've got a couple of techniques that I use that I'd love to share with you. But before I do, I wanted to address a quick question we keep getting asked. People have asked me, what is it with body painters asking people to put bread in their underpants? Well, it's actually not a myth. Body painters and indeed fashion stylists on underwear shoots have and still do ask people to put bread in their underpants to take away the lumps and bumps and give a more smooth finish. I was talking to a recent an underwear model, a male underwear model recently, and he was asked as recently as last week to do such a thing. So it's still happening. But I have something that I find a little bit more hygienic. It's called the Perfect Package. I only recently discovered this. Now this is a texture similar to that of a bra cup. It's like a foamy appliance. And what you do is you put this inside the underwear. So I'll ask the model to do this himself. Obviously, I don't do this. In the privacy of the change room, you pop this into his underwear. All of the anatomy fits inside it, and then it just leaves this smooth surface on the underwear. Now, don't be alarmed that you can see a dark patch through that. Once this area is painted, it's absolutely not a problem, and it is just so reliable. There's no awkward moments for the model or for the photographer or the client or the public. It's my new favourite thing. In the past, I have used many different things, one of them being a sports cup, this hard plastic, but it's not very natural looking. It doesn't move well with the model, but the perfect package, absolutely 100% one of the best finds I've had as a body painter in the last 6 months. So give it a go. Finally, I think my last piece of advice would be, where possible, try to pre-paint the underwear while it's off the model as much as you can. So that means if there's a lot of detail, particularly in this area, you can have the model try on the underwear, make sure it's the right size, slip it off, and they can be in a gown. You can pre-paint the underwear there and then have them slip back on. You can paint the rest of the body painting, or if possible you can even pre-paint it the evening before if you're very sure of the size of their underwear. For example, I had to do a body painting on television recently, and I didn't want to be spending a lot of time down, doing intricate work in the crotch area on television, so I actually pre-painted the underwear the evening before. So what you're looking at here is just nude seam-free underwear, exactly the same as this, but the evening before I slipped it onto a mannequin and airbrushed it so that I had these just to slip onto the model on the day, and then I spent the rest of the time on the shoot just doing the legs and a lot of the detail. So it is an act of respect. It avoids those awkward personal contact moments, and it's going to save time as well. So I think that's about all we have to say on the subject of underwear. So now let's look at the options we have for breast coverage. Now, looking at breast coverage, we've got our female mannequin. Now, there are some circumstances where the venue or the media will put some restrictions on you where the model must wear a bra. So it's not ideal, and it's never as effective painting on fabric as it is on skin. But if that's the case, you can get a bandeau bra out of seam-free fabric, which is like a boob tube, and you can stick it down and incorporate that into the design as well. It brings me to a point that I forgot to mention before when we were talking about underwear on the lower half of the body. It is really important that the underwear is not made of cotton. It must be made of nylon or spandex or lycra or something synthetic. Cotton and other natural fabrics absorb water, they stretch, they don't hold the colour of the paint the same as a synthetic fabric does, and you can end up with a baggy, saggy look, particularly down at the crotch, and it doesn't adhere properly. It's a mess. So make sure that the underwear you choose isn't cotton. So back to the breast coverage. Otherwise, you can get a bra, a regular bra or bikini top, and paint your design so that it attractively fits around the bra. But let's talk about a situation where we are actually allowed to have some degree of breast exposure, but we're just needing to cover the nipple. So we'll look at the options for that. The easiest and cheapest form of nipple coverage would be the first aid paper tape, nipple tape if you like. Available in chemists, and it literally is what you use for first aid for injuries, etc. You cut it into a circular shape and it just gets adhered to the breast, to the nipple, like this. Now, as you can see, there are some slight folds in it, and that is a disadvantage of nipple tape. There will be sort of folds and overlaps simply due to the fact that it has no stretch really in it. It is not the ultimate solution, but it is something that can be used in a pinch, and it can be used underneath prosthetics. For prosthetic breast covers, there's a number of options. From the simplest option, which is just a foam latex nipple shield, which is my favourite type. They come in different sizes. They have such good quality ones, have such thin edges that when it's adhered to the breast and then with Prosade or body glue of some kind, then you don't really even need to cabo patch or bondo the edges. They literally, with alcohol, they can be blended right away, and they are a great alternative. Some body artists like to put a little piece of nipple tape on underneath these to stop the nipple moving about, but you know, I've used them with and without, and either way is very good. The other option is still sticking down the line of foam latex, are decorative foam latex prosthetics. So by that I mean, for example, these ones, which are like a foam latex stick-on bra cup. They're really pretty, and I've used them a lot, but that's only for certain designs. But there are so many different ones. There's sort of Baroque leaves. Got to get them on the right way. You know, it's just pretty designs. You can make them yourself, or you can buy them from various different places. This is one's like a skull. I mean, I've more used this on the shoulder and other places, but I have seen it used on the breast before. And there's even, for example, I have one here that's like a flame, which is, you know, it's an okay thing to use for some sort of Halloween potentially. The other alternative other than foam latex are, there's a number of different silicone nipple covers. I really dislike these. I call them the jellyfish, and I hate them. They basically, you peel the sticky back off them and stick them onto the breast, and they are hideous. They have a sort of a petal shape around the outside, and they have this horrible texture that really needs to be prepped before it can ever be painted on. And to me, they're so obvious. It's like saying, "Attention, there's a nipple here." So I don't use those. So my last piece of advice really relates to structuring your body paint design so that the breast doesn't become the focal point of your piece. And by that I mean the chest is a beautiful focal point for any body art piece, but I mean the nipples themselves. So you'll see sometimes that people will create designs where there's these circular patterns here. I think it's a natural beginner's sort of thing where, you know, the breasts are circular, so let's use a circular thing here. But I think it just draws attention. So what I try to do is whenever I have something that has line work here or intricate patterning, I try and put something passing through the nipple, so a line passing through or a piece of patterning passing through, or something that makes the nipples sort of disappear into the pattern. And often, I mean, I like the fact that people say to me, "What happened to the nipples? Did you Photoshop them?" And that's a nice feeling, because it means I did my job. It means that people are going, "Where's that nipple?" And that's good. You want to be able to disguise them in that way. If you make them a different color or with circular things around them, or it doesn't look as professional, and it becomes the focus. And as I said before, we want the focus to be on the beautiful artwork, not on the body parts that we tried so hard to conceal underneath. So that's it from me for this week. In the coming weeks, we've got some amazing shows lined up for you. In a minute, I'll go through what you can expect in the coming weeks. So next week on the show, we'll be talking to the cast and crew of Skin Wars, the US-based reality TV show on body painting. We'll be talking to Craig and Robin, the judges, and 5 cast members to see what their behind-the-scenes experiences were like. And we have a stack of other information to go through on future episodes. Thank you so much for joining us for the first episode of The Body Art Show. This is Julie Tatum from the Global College of Body Art. Thank you very much. Good night.